My name is Megan, and I've been attending Kingstowne Communion since 2018. As of July, I now have the privilege and responsibility of serving as your finance chair on the leadership team.
Hi, my name is Renee, and I've been attending Kingstowne since July of last year. And as of this month, I became one of the newest members of the leadership team, just beginning to serve as your connections chair with the primary task of helping new people, like myself, integrate well into the life and community of Kingstowne.
As many of you know, the Kingstowne Communion became independent and self-sufficient, our very own standalone church, just last year. Taking this momentous step is an extraordinary achievement for any church plant, but the fact that Kingstowne was able to do it amidst 2 crazy years of COVID is incredible. While we are learning a lot about what it truly means to be on our own as a church, I think it has also allowed us to decide who and what we want to be as a church. This year, we found a new home in Hayfield, allowing us to live stream worship well for the first time ever, and putting us in a relationship with a school that actually wants to be in partnership with us for the good of the community. This year, we also welcome new members into our community. We have continued to be a safe, inclusive space for everyone, and we've remained a church who strives to say yes to serving our community at every opportunity.
But despite all the good that is happening in our church and all the wonderful ways we have found to give back to our neighbors, our church is not immune to tough times. Becoming independent, slogging our way through COVID, living in a transient area where members come and go, just to name a few, are all challenges for our church. When we held our annual stewardship campaign in November, we stepped out in faith and made some important decisions to return to a weekly rhythm of worship at Hayfield and hire a family ministries director. This restored our church to its pre-pandemic quality of ministry. At the same time, we told you that we would do a mid-year review of our finances. So here we are at the family table to have a family meeting about our family budget. Because me and Megan and you are all a part of this family.
We entered 2022 in a strong position. Based on our 2021 giving and budget, we were covering all our basic organizational expenses, serving our surrounding community, and resting on a 3-month reserve primarily made up of a COVID PPP grant. After a very long period of online worship, many of you made it clear, including myself, that getting back to weekly in-person worship was important for our spiritual health in order to feel connected to our church community. So we are back worshiping together, and it's awesome. Our congregation also expressed that dedicated children's programming was a top priority, and as we moved back to weekly worship, we hired Sam, who is doing an amazing job of supporting our children's spiritual lives.
And yet, since January, there has been a change to the number of contributing members in our congregation. Several families and individuals moved out of the area for a variety of reasons, and several more families and individuals stepped away as pandemic surges and fatigue negatively impacted their ability to remain connected. This all resulted in a loss of over $30,000 in giving, felt at the same moment we needed to spend more on space and children.
Since returning to Hayfield in February, and as a result of this significant loss in giving, we have relied on our reserve funding to make up for what is still about a $2,000 to $2,500 gap each month, and now this fund is down to covering just about 6 weeks of expenses. So while we have survived this long, we have not put ourselves in a position to thrive. So consider with me the purpose of our church before considering what needs to happen next. The Kingstowne Communion exists to gather people into communion with Jesus Christ through courageous conversation, creative community, and collaborating for the common good. We don't just show up on Sundays, sing a few songs, hear a sermon, and then head out for lunch together. Our slogan is extending the table, which means we don't just welcome people to the church because we are inclusive, we also extend our table to the community.
That's why we don't own or maintain a large church building with a fancy sanctuary, a massive kitchen, a significant dining hall, numerous classrooms, and enough bathrooms to get our plumbers, kids, and grandkids through college. We intend to invest any resources we have into the community. And our greatest resource isn't a building or a program, but an unwavering set of immensely talented people whose presence is the reason why we are able to be present in the community.
And preparing the table for our congregation, as well as for our surrounding community, currently requires the following: 1, a facility that allows us to consistently meet in person, have a visible presence in the community, and operate without the overhead of a mortgage or ongoing maintenance expenses, a facility which we pay $530 a week to rent. 2, a part-time staff person who not only leads our weekly musical experience of worship, but also coordinates volunteers, oversees all tech, and maintains our website.
3, a part-time staff person who not only gathers and teaches our children on Sundays, but also coordinates volunteers, writes curriculum, and implements youth programs outside of Sunday worship. 4, a part-time staff person who not only tracks and reports all giving and expenses, but also manages membership data and helps us operate legally and prepare for future growth. And 5, last but certainly not least, a devoted pastor who has the benefited full-time capacity to not only serve as preacher and presider, but also as a full-time marketing and communications director, online ministries director, and community organizer.
So between the loss of contributing members and our church's current mission, we are now in a moment for us to think about who we want to be going forward. Do we want to be a church that simply survives Sunday to Sunday? Or do we want to be a church community that thrives and has the capacity to say yes to serving whenever we are called? The reality is that almost every one of us, whether you attend at some regularity in person and online, listen to the podcast, go to a common table, or participate in mission, almost every one of us already gives to Kingstowne in some way. Friends, it's not about waiting on new givers. It's about us all investing what is needed to sustain our church now.
The reality is we are consistently bringing in $2,000 to $2,500 less a month than what our current ministry requires. For this reason, we have decided to move our annual stewardship campaign up from November to August. If we want to be a church that thrives, that answers the call, that continues to extend the table, each of us needs to determine the reasons for why we are committed to Kingstowne and increase our giving accordingly, beginning this August and through 2023.
The need is real, friends, and the ask is bigger than ever. But without this bold ask and a bold response by all of us, the ongoing ministry of this church is at risk. Carly and I have decided to respond in a bold way by increasing our pledge yet again.
And after reviewing the church's numbers, I personally took a hard look at what Kingstowne means to me and what that should mean for my giving. So Zach and I have committed to increase our financial investment in this spiritual community as well.
Will you join us in not just giving to this community, but sustaining it?